Hey Merfolk fans, I'm Joe. Thanks very much for joining me today. If you'd like to support my channel, please check out the link above to my Patreon page. I'll also put the link down below in the description. I'm back with round 4 of a Modern League, currently 3-0. The opponent won the die roll for round 4. And this is a really nice hand. I believe the opponent mulliganed to 5. And they did, in fact, mulligan to 5. And they're going to start off with Swamp into Thoughtseize, leaving them just with 3 cards. What is the decision here? So they choose to go with Spreading Seas. Makes sense. When you mulligan to 5, you often don't have very many lands. And Silvergill is a pretty nice draw. This is probably Jund, just because it's so popular right now, but it could be any number of decks. Bloodstained Mire getting a Stomping Ground. And Abrupt Decaying my AEther Vial seems pretty sketchy, given the fact that I have a handful of gas and he saw that I had 3 lands. Like, probably better to kill one of my creatures, I think, with that Abrupt Decay. It was only going to get 1 counter on it this turn anyway, so I'm going to go with Mutavault into Silvergill Adept. Now, this is a calculated risk here. If the opponent untaps, plays a second Black Source and Liliana of the Veil, if she ticks down, I'm going to be able to activate Mutavault and kill her right away. However, if the opponent plays like a Plague Engineer, Silvergill Adepts will die. If they play Renin 6, they're going to need another red or green land to even get it onto the table, and that will also kill Silvergill Adept, but I'll be able to activate Mutavault. And I believe, given the starting devotion on Renin 6, I would be able to kill it with Mutavault. So opponent goes for Dark Confidant. I drew a Reejerey, which is quite nice. It's going to open up my mana a little bit. Hopefully with 1 card left, the opponent doesn't have a Bolt in hand. We get in with Silvergill, take the opponent down to 12. Opponent revealed, I believe, an Inquisition of Kozilek. And they go ahead and run that out. They chose to take Trickster. And then they run out a 6/7 Tarmogoyf, which is pretty big, but without removal for this Reejerey and me drawing an island, things are about to go a little bit sideways for this Jund player. We'll start with Silvergill Adept, reveal a Lord, untap an island, and draw a card. Benthic Biomancer is free, so let's go ahead and just get that out there. And then these Lords are going to hit the table, untap the island, play it, tap down the Tarmogoyf. At this point, I've got 9 power of attacks. Opponent can block or not block as they see fit. They are probably pretty tilted because they blocked the weaker creature, taking 5 damage instead of 4. And not much can help them here. So they play Liliana of the Veil. It's a good card, but it's not good enough. So very easy game 1 against a Jund player who mulliganed to 5. That's how these things tend to go. As I mentioned, I had a pretty strong opening hand. And while a Jund player might think that a strong 5 against Merfolk might be good enough, it's typically not going to be. Let's go ahead to game 2 and see how that one went. Okay, back for game 2 against Jund. I chose to take out all 4 AEther Vials. They are poor top decks, low impact top decks, and though they help us play around their Planeswalkers by putting creatures onto the battlefield at instant speed, they're just weak to Kolaghan's Command, and just generally not the highest impact card we can play against Jund. So I took out all 4. In some cases, Jund even brings in Collector Oof against us because they know it's not only going to hit AEther Vial, but also Relic of Progenitus. And then sadly, I've begun taking out all 4 Benthic Biomancers. They're just too weak to Plague Engineers and too weak to Renin 6. I've chosen instead to try the strategy of running all 4 of our Force of Negations. Their Planeswalkers are kind of the easiest ways for them to get way ahead in card advantage, and Forces let us battle against their Planeswalkers on the stack. So 8 cards out, and then I'm bringing in 2 Kiras, which are one of our best cards, if not the single best card against Jund. 3 Relic of Progenitus. And the last 2 cards that I would bring in, so that's the 3, 2, and then I need 3 more. What are the last 3 cards? I know I can figure this out. Not the Deprives. We've got the 2 Deprives in here, and not Echoing Truths, and not Phyrexian Revokers. I'll probably figure it out as the game goes on, but I've got definitely 3 Relics and 2 Kiras. Let's go ahead and see if maybe I draw some of these other cards that I'm trying to remember. Well, this is a pretty nice hand. Opponent starts with a tapped Raging Ravine. That means they're probably going to tap out for a 2-drop on turn 2, which means that I can start hitting their lands with Spreading Seas. Silvergill Adept, pretty nice. And we've got the Force. So, oh man, Seize Claim. I was pretty excited at this draw. Gonna hit their Raging Ravine. They cracked their Catacombs. Tapped Blood Crypt. I get to draw a card, and that's another land. Pretty nice. Overgrown Tomb. And the opponent goes for Lily the Last Hope. We have the Force. Everything's lining up perfectly here. I had to choose which creature to pitch here. And because I had redundant Island Walk Lords, I chose to pitch the Island Walk Lord. Okay, so what to do here? I could run out Kira. It's a pretty straightforward choice, right? You get ahead of their removal, start chipping in damage, force them to 2-for-1 themselves to deal with Kira. But a slightly better option seemed to be to continue attacking their mana, play Silvergill to develop our board. Again, Silvergill is weak to Renin 6 and Plague Engineer without Lords on the table, but by attacking the opponent's mana, it's potentially going to make them hard for them to cast Renin 6. I mean, I think that Plague Engineer is just 1 black and 2 colorless, so I did go with that option. See what I draw. Another land is pretty good in this spot, and we go ahead and take them off of green, or at least try to, but fortunately for them, they have another black-green source. And they had the Plague Engineer, so this is pretty bad for us. Just losing, but Dismember is right on time here. Okay, now that I'm seeing the replay of this game, this opponent pretty much had the nuttiest draws possible. So let's just sort of track what they draw, because I had really good cards, and they just got me, I think. So play the second island, run out Kira, which we could have done last turn. Instead, we went with the Silvergill, and it died to Plague Engineer. So pretty much the worst card possible for us here is Liliana the Veil. The opponent has it. It's going to force us to sacrifice our Kira. Fortunately for us, we get to just activate Mutavault and kill Liliana, but the opponent had a second red source. So I had to think carefully, but I thought, we have to take the risk. We need to get this Lily off the board. Activate Mutavault, fire it up, swing at Lily. Not only did the opponent have the second red source, but they also had the Bolt. So after spending exactly their 2 black to get Liliana on the board, including their red source, they had the basic mountain and the lightning bolt to keep Liliana there. So I go ahead, play out the Lord of Atlantis. Opponent makes me discard something, so I go ahead and pitch Reejerey. Thassa with these Seize Claim and Spreading Seas on the board could be great value. But the opponent has Kolaghan's Command, returning the Plague Engineer and destroying our Lord of Atlantis. Not just that, but they have a Scavenging Ooze. So they had Kolaghan's Command into Scavenging Ooze after Liliana and Lightning Bolt, which also came after Liliana the Last Hope. They discarded an Assassin's Trophy to Liliana. So, I could have chosen to hold up this Trickster here, but I thought I needed to get some value on the board, and if I held up Trickster, the opponent would make me discard, in which case I would have to discard either Trickster or Thassa, and Thassa is just more valuable than Trickster here. Opponent makes me discard. Let's see what they discarded. Another Liliana of the Veil. Just nutty. So now this Scavenging Ooze can start taking over the game. You can see the synergy between Thassa and the two enchantments. All I need to do is draw 2 Devotion to get Thassa back online. So opponent plays out another Plague Engineer, naming Merfolk. So I draw into I scryed away a Reejerey because I really wanted 2 Devotion. So I'm going to play the Lord. Thassa comes alive. Unfortunately, I don't have a 4th land. You can see they were able to bolt my Mutavault earlier, but if I did have that Mutavault still sticking around, I could make Thassa unblockable. As things went, the opponent decided to keep their Liliana. Definitely makes sense. Plague Engineer down. Opponent makes me sacrifice a creature, so of course I'm going to sacrifice the Lord. And the opponent rips a Bloodbraid Elf into another Scavenging Ooze. I was just like laughing at this point. Because I'm 3-0 in this league, I stomped them in game 1. I had amazing cards in game 2, and where did I go wrong? I mean, I don't think I made any really wrong decisions in this game. You could say that running out Silvergill and Seize Claim ahead of Kira might be wrong, but it's total. I think what happened was the opponent had the Plague Engineer and the Liliana in hand. So if I led with Kira, they would have led with Liliana, killing Kira. Then if I played Silvergill, they would have played Plague Engineer after that, killing the Silvergill. So now I'm taking 5 damage, and things are looking pretty grim. I get a Scry from Thassa, see another Lord. Pretty nice, but at this point, I really can't even afford to attack. So we just have to hope that with 0 cards in hand, I get to actually have some blocks here. Looks like that is in fact going to happen. So I'm going to take the opportunity to hopefully eat one of these Scavenging Oozes and trade with the Bloodbraid Elf. I'll take 2 or potentially 3 from the Scavenging Ooze if they eat a creature in the graveyard. Go down to 3, and the opponent rips a Tarmogoyf. They haven't drawn a land in like the last 5 turns, I don't think. Or 4 turns at least. So things are pretty far out of our control here, but I rip probably the only card that can save me here. Merfolk Trickster. So what's going to happen here? The opponent is going to untap, they're going to draw a land, and they're going to try to make me discard with Trickster, at which point I'll flash Trickster in, tap down the Tarmogoyf, Thassa will come alive, and she'll just stonewall the Scavenging Ooze. At which point I'll get to untap, get a Scry with Thassa, and if nothing else, I can just make the I can make Thassa unblockable and kill Liliana, or who knows what I could draw off the top of the deck. But Trickster is the one card, literally the one card in the deck that could potentially get me the win here. But there's one card that the opponent could draw, or maybe 2 cards the opponent could draw, that would still lose me the game. And they drew it, of course. This is literally just the most nutty string of cards. Liliana the Last Hope into Lightning Bolt, Kolaghan's Command, Liliana the Veil, Plague Engineer, Bloodbraid. They got Plague Engineer back with Kolaghan's Command, so they played it twice. Bloodbraid Elf, double Scavenging Ooze, into Tarmogoyf. And now, to top everything off, Inquisition of Kozilek. This forces me to play out the Trickster before the opponent activates Liliana, so of course they'll just minus Liliana after I flash the Trickster in, at which point Thassa will not be alive, and the Scavenging Ooze can get in for lethal. So I had to sacrifice Thassa to even leave a blocker back, and yeah, opponent gets in, I block, they eat a creature, I lose, and just how frustrating, The Seize Claims did great work, totally justified in keeping them in the deck. The opponent just had the nuts. It was really, really crazy. So they were able to equalize at one game apiece. Let's go ahead to the third and final game of this match. Okay, back for game 3. I'm going to be on the play. I'd love to have another land, but we have to keep this hand. You prefer not to mulligan against Jund, and this is a hand that we can afford to not mulligan. Oh, I'm sorry. I guess I was pretty proactive there. That's interesting how my opinion can change so much just from having played the game to the replay. So I did mulligan. The thought process was, of course, that I only had the 2 lands, Silvergill, could get taken out of our hand with an Inquisition on turn 1, in which case I probably won't be able to play any spells. And even if I do get Silvergill on board, it dies immediately to Wrenn and 6, it dies immediately to Plague Engineer. So I chose to go with the mulligan, and I think I got nicely rewarded. Here, I think I'm going to pitch the basic island. They do play Choke, and nothing in my hand forces me to have double blue right now. So get rid of the island, and I think that was a good mulligan. You guys can let me know your thoughts, because clearly it's a close call, because I looked at that hand in the replay after not looking at this match since I played it, and I thought it was going to have to be a keep. But I guess I thought more carefully in the actual match, and got rewarded for taking a good mulligan. Fortunately, the opponent did not have the hand disruption, which means I can immediately start disrupting their land. So play, and it's really quite nice that I drew my 2 Oboro and Minamo so that I don't have to take damage from my blue lands, and they're not weak to Choke. So let's go ahead and lead out with Spreading Seas. Draw a card. Another Force is pretty clunky, but given the way things are going, I feel pretty solid anyway. Okay, opponent plays out Dark Confidant, which is pretty good for them, but fortunately I have the Dismember in hand to deal with him immediately. So let's go ahead and kill Dark Confidant. We'll go down to 16. We can take them off of their black and green land and play out Relic. So now we're just sitting back on these 2 forces. We definitely want to draw some gas, but hopefully the opponent is a little bit backed up on mana. They play a Bloodstained Mire and just pass the turn back to us. So drew another Dismember for the turn, and I figured, we don't have any creatures. It's time to fire up Mutavault and start attacking. So I did that, and pretty much immediately realized I should not have done that. It's so funny how you can make a decision that you totally take for granted. And in paper, I might have been tapping and sort of moving my Mutavault and then been like, no, hold on a second, right? And not actually have gone through with the movement. But online, you activate Mutavault, there's no going back. I figured, I had mana up for either Relic or Dismember, but they play so much 1 mana removal. They've got Lightning Bolts and Fatal Push, and the chances with 6 cards in hand of them having one of those super high. So the most impactful cards that I have in my deck against Jund are 3-drops. Thassa would be amazing with these two Devotion on the board already. Kira would be even better with them choked on mana. But if Mutavault gets removed, I'm only on 2 lands. So I fired up Mutavault, immediately realized I should not have fired up Mutavault. Opponent cracks their land, and I'm just shaking my head like, come on, like, I didn't mean it. I didn't want to attack with Mutavault. So punished. Just so punished. All right, so Mutavault down. Opponent, of course, has way more lands to play. Of course, I draw Kira, which would be just the Nutter Butters right now. So I can't... I mean, look, if I play out Kira and they go for Liliana and I force it, that could just well be game over, because they've only got 2 lands to work with, counter their Planeswalker, I have a creature that forces them to 2 for 1 themselves. The opponent gets an untapped Blood Crypt. Wow, okay, so Kolaghan's Command on my turn, forcing me to crack the Relic, and forcing me to discard something. So I drew a Lord, and I'm going to pitch one of these forces. Redundant Forces, not always the best against Jund. Okay, into Plague Engineer. Okay, well, we have the Dismember for that, so things sort of still okay. Okay, both players at 12 life. I've got 3 cards, now 4 cards, so extremely poised right now. 12 to 12, 4 cards in hand each. Opponent's got 2 useful lands. I've got 2 useful lands. I ripped a third, so I can go straight into this. Straight into this Kira right now. Okay, so opponent goes Brutality, which means, of course, they have another piece of removal, so that's okay. And they don't know I have this Force in hand, so this potential blowout for me to be able to get into the game. Opponent takes some damage from their Peatland and goes second Brutality. So let's go with this Force. It hurts to pitch the Lord, but I need to save Kira. Okay. So let's review. After turning off their first 2 lands, the opponent had 3 more lands, Plague Engineer, double Collected Brutality, double Collected Brutality, Collective Brutality, and then Lightning Bolt. Plague Engineer. The triple removal. It's great that Kira made them run out those 3 removal spells, so, you know, I'm still kind of in it. I guess I could rip Thassa. That would be pretty awesome. Relic, not amazing. I didn't need to crack it right away, and I probably shouldn't have. I was just slightly tilted from that turn of events. Because now if they Thoughtseize me, they have something to take away. If I just let the Relic sit on the board, then I could potentially go to the end step. Oh, okay. Oh my god. Guys. Oh, it hurts to watch this again. Oh, I'm getting flashbacks. Okay. Now, Liliana can just make me sacrifice the Master, so I have no choice. I have to run it out. I have to take Liliana down. Opponent 2 cards in hand. And they sacrifice their Horizon Land. I draw another Lord. My deck is trying to help me, but the opponent has a Bolt at my face. And then to polish off the most perfect draws of all time after their mulligan to 5, a second Bolt, because, yeah, I don't know. Why not, right? They could have just... God. Could have bolted the Lord and swung with the Bloodbraid Elf. They had everything that they needed to have, and it happens, and look, I'm not really that upset. It's just really wild to see them draw so perfectly. The fact that they had, you have to recall the turn with the double Collective Brutality and Lightning Bolt. They had exactly 5 mana with exactly enough colored mana to cast those 3 spells. They had 2 black, 1 red, and then, you know, the 2 generic mana that Collective Brutality lets you pay. If they had, for example, Assassin's Trophy, Collective Brutality, Lightning Bolt, that wouldn't have happened. If they had 2 Assassin's Trophies and Lightning Bolt, that wouldn't have happened. If they had Maelstrom Pulse, Collective Brutality, and Lightning Bolt, that wouldn't have happened. Kira would have been able to live. Then I would have followed up with more creatures, and Liliana would not have been nearly as effective. Kira could have flown over and killed her. So I'm really, really happy with this build right now. The 7 Cs against Jund. It's great synergy with Thassa, who can just be a wall against their creatures, help me punch through with unblockability. And I have to say, I think that I like the forces. They let me counter the Planeswalkers while still tapping out. It's great for maintaining tempo against the Jund opponent. But yeah, after winning game 1, we just got crushed by these monster draws, and unfortunately missed our chance to go 5-0. Currently 3-1 in this league after beating 2 blue-red opponents, Mono Green Tron, and then losing to Jund. So please leave your thoughts down below about this brutal match. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and please take a moment and check out my Patreon page if you'd like to support the channel. And tune into the next video where I'll be back with the 5th and final round of this Modern League. I'll see you guys there. Bye.